my name is Yuri Kasdorp from Mouse, and we are back with another track guide. And as you can see, it's raining again. And we all know what that means. That means that the Audi is going to be a good choice. So high chance for rain this week. Not every session, but a high chance for rain this week. So better be prepared for when the water does start coming down. And with this track, with the big curbs, it's quite tricky, but also very rewarding. So without further ado, let's get into the track guide. Right, so here we are in the last sector in quite a wet Watkins Glen. About 82% chance likely to have rain this week, so about every 4 and 5 races should see one way or another a bit of rain. So running race fuel, tires a bit cold. Coming to turn 1 here, you want to brake at about 200, maybe a bit before, depending on the weather of course. Try to set up for a good exit. You can just about take the curb on the exit if you hold your wheel exactly straight. And then it should be flat on the uphill here depending on how wet it is. You just want to avoid the complete insides, because there's pedals on the insides. If you avoid those, you should be able to go flat out. Same here on the complete left side, there's some pedals. I like to avoid those. And then braking early. Straight over the curbs when you hit them, but we still hit them. Try to carry the speed here, and all we do is avoid the complete insides. Other than that, we take mostly just the racing line. Avoid the white line on the entry there as well. Those can be tricky. I go over it on the exit, the white line. Same for here, you want to avoid the white line on the entry. Just keep it safe. Avoid the complete inside, but other than that we just take the racing line. Same for the last corner here. And careful with the yellow line, you can feel it in the wheel when you go over that. Lose a bit of grip. And that's a lap in the wet around Watkins Glen. Right, so let's have a closer look from the outside cam. So for turn 1, want to make sure that you avoid this white line on the left side here. It completely upsets the car if you run over it while you're braking. So you want to run close to that but not on it. Other than that, we want to run just on the racing line. And in general, I want to run racing line, but a tiny bit wider. So maybe half a car width wider on the apex, because it tends to have quite a lot of water, standing water on the complete inside. Just going a tiny bit wider gives you a tiny bit more grip. Then on the exit here, normally you want to avoid the curb, but because the curb's so big, it's good to take the curb, but you want to make sure that the car is almost straight when you're running onto it. If you're still turning on the curb here, you're going to lose traction. Then for the uphill here, normally you would go all the way down here. There's standing water there, so you want to go a bit higher. But as you can see, it should be flat out unless you're in a really wet session. And we run about 1 car width to the left side of the optimal dry line here. And we do the same thing on the left-hander. So we don't run exactly on the inside, we run a bit wider. Again, it should be flat out. One thing to look out for is exiting too wide. If your right side tires are here, you don't lose the car, but you start aquaplaning a bit, you lose a bit of speed and a bit of grip. On the straight here as well, the left side can be a bit wet. So I only go to the left side at the end. And you want to brake late for the chicane. Early, sorry. You don't want to brake too late. It's very easy to overshoot it and think you have the grip, but a lot of the track that we use in the chicane is curb, and curb has a lot less grip than the actual tarmac. So when we go onto the curb as well, we want to make sure of two things. We want to go over the curb as straight as we can, so we want to do most of the turning on the tarmac. And when we're on the curb, we don't want to have big inputs. So no big steering inputs, but also no big inputs from the throttle or the brake. So that when we go over the curb, the car's neutral and we're not asking the car to change direction or change speed. That way, the curbs are very slippery, it won't do anything unpredictable to the car, and we can take them at quite high speed. We do the same on the left side here, we brake before. You can see when we hit the curb, we try to go off the brake. And then we go on throttle again afterwards. And the exception being here where we're accelerating. And the last curb, we try to go completely straight over the curb and we can keep accelerating without losing the car. I went a bit off the accelerator when I hit the curb, of course. And then we want to turn. Down one gear, be patient, be patient. Want to send the car to the inside. You saw the moment I hit the yellow line on the inside, car starts to slide a bit. And we want to make sure if we hit the curb that we're almost straight here as well. And again, avoid the white line on the right side when you're braking. And we just take pretty much the racing line, but half the car with more to the outside here as well. Then you want to brake a bit earlier here. You can see where the rubbered line is. There's a bit less grip, but it doesn't pay off to brake all the way on the inside here. So we want to brake a bit earlier. Keep in mind that the car will go a bit straight. Running a bit wider than we usually do. Got back to the inside and try to get the grip. Outside here I like to just run over the white line. It doesn't lose me a lot of grip in this occasion. Then we want to brake a bit earlier than we're used to here as well. So a bit before the 200 sign. And just take it easy into the corner. Again, we want to avoid the complete inside because you can see the standing water there. And I don't like in the wet weather to run all the way over, but you still can. Don't think there's too much difference in both of them. Avoid the white line and the entry here as well. And again, just avoid the puddles on the inside and you should be good. When you're running over the yellow line in the exit here, make sure your car's already mostly straight. So we're not turning a lot here, that would make you lose traction. Avoid the white line in the entry, small tap on the brake. Avoiding the puddles on the inside, so you want to avoid the puddles on the curb. The curb on the exit is fine as long as we're not turning much anymore. Small tap on the brake for the last corner. And you can feel the wheel getting light when you run over this yellow line on the inside here. It doesn't pay off to go all the way around it, but just be careful when you're going over it that the car will lose grip a tiny bit. And then when we go off it, we can go flat out and you avoid running with all 4 tires onto the curb on the outside. And again, make sure the car's mostly straight when you hit it. And when we do that, we did a lap. And we can have a look at the delta for exact inputs. And we go to the chicane when we're having a look at that. So let's have a look at the delta. So that's right here. We take our slap. And we can take the chicane. And you can see in the chicane, it goes up and down a lot. We are a bit too far ahead. Chicane is here. So you can see we're braking straight line. Then we hit the first curb. We have no inputs. Then between the first and second curb, we try to tap the brake. Second curb on the left side, no inputs. And then we start going on the throttle a bit. We avoid the third curb. Then when we hit the fourth curb, we go a bit down on the throttle again to again minimize those inputs over the curb and make sure that on a lower traction the car doesn't step out and stays predictable. Then we just slowly release the throttle, lift a bit to get the car to turn in. I'm not on the brakes for the right-hander, which I normally am in a dry. And then slowly start building up the throttle depending on how much grip you have through the carousel. and then the exit once we're flat, you just hold it flat over the exit curb as long as the car is straight. So a lot of turning here you're doing with the throttle and not actually the wheel. Use the throttle to turn the car through the corner, and on the chicane, make sure that you don't have that many inputs. So minimize the input on the brake and throttle, and minimize the steering input when you're on the curbs. And that's how you do Watkins Glen in the wet. So there we go. That's how we survive running around Watkins Glen if it does rain. Lucky that there's no multi-class, so we can just pick the lines that we want without being interrupted by the faster classes passing us. Good chance to, I think, learn the iRacing way to drive the rain, because there's a bit of everything around this track: high speed, low speed, curbs, elevation in the wet. So should prepare you well to race the rain on any track. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone next week.